How can Blizzard share the Overwatch lore now that PvE is no longer a thing? Let's have a look. Overwatch 2 PvE was cancelled quite a while ago, but it is still a sore topic for a lot of people among us. And for some Overwatch fans, it was the final drop. Basically the moment that they abandoned the game. Understandable. For me personally, it also has been disappointing. But as I've said before, never say never. That dream is still very much alive within the team that developed Overwatch. I've made videos on this topic, on how this could pan out, and for instance, set up a whole different team within Blizzard that tackles that as a separate game. There have been some rumors floating about all of that, but even if that is true, if that should happen, it is so many years away that there's no use in talking about that. The thing is, of course, that in the meanwhile, we are not only deprived from that PvE gameplay, but that also was a very important storytelling tool. And a lot of us love the lore, including myself, as you might know. For a lot of us, Overwatch is not just a first-person shooter, which makes a lot of sense. The only reason that this project, that Overwatch, got to involve in what it was from Project Titan back in the day, and the main reason that a lot of people are drawn to this game, are the heroes. They are still the main selling point. And that is because of their kits, their personalities and identities, but also because of their stories. Every single hero in Overwatch comes with lore. They might not communicate about it that directly anymore, but somewhere on a Microsoft Drive, there's a ton of stories about every single hero and how they are connected to each other. And that is with the general story arc of Overwatch. Over the last 9 years, Blizzard has been telling these stories with in-game voice lines, Easter eggs on maps, info in the actual game, comics, short stories, trailers, origin stories, and the best part, animated shorts. We do love those animated shorts. But it has actually been a while since we got to see one. The last animated short that we got to see was Calling, the one that kicked off the Invasion storyline. And that was released over a year ago when PvE actually launched, ironically. And I think we can all agree that we need more of those. I have been promised that there are more coming. Yeah. But that's about all I know. But look, overall, the comics, the short stories, the trailers, they have been fun. And those voice lines in game are always fun to discover. The thing is that over the last year, 4 new heroes were released, and 3 of them hail from a completely new faction or come from a completely new background, stuff that we did not know about before. So they add a lot of context to the world, but they also raise a ton of questions. Like, what is Manga's big plan? How did Yari become so powerful that she destroyed half a temple? What is Venture's background aside from that whole Wayfinder society? And is Yuno going to be able to save her family that is stuck on Mars? And that's just the stories of the latest 4 heroes. What is Ramatra doing with those helmets on the Omnics? Where's Zenyatta hanging out? Is the Iris okay? There's so many questions. My point is that the comics, the short stories, and the trailers are just not cutting it right now. Now, they could opt to just leave it in the open, and the rest of our days we'll be guessing what happened. But the thing is, at some point, as they keep adding heroes, I think the general interest will just fade out. There will be too many questions at that point. It's just going to feel like a huge incoherent mess. So what I think is that they need to think about different ways of telling these stories, different from PvE gameplay. And the simple answer here is, of course, a movie or a television series. Personally, I'm not sure if a movie would work, because that would force him to pick one storyline, basically. And I've seen the same thing happen with the Warcraft movie almost a decade ago now. When they started making that movie, they had to pick which storyline they were going to tell in the whole Warcraft universe. And there was a lot to tell already at that point. The problem is that those movies need to be interesting for both the fans, but also the people that never heard about Warcraft. If you want it to be a commercial success, you need to keep the whole audience in mind. And the Warcraft movie tried to appease both of them by picking a storyline that turned out not to work for either group. It was a bit of a mess. I personally still think that they should have picked the Lich King storyline, and they could have knitted on some prequels later. But you know, I don't make movies yet. But yeah, making an Overwatch movie would be risky, and on top of that is very expensive. A series is also expensive, but a lot of these streaming platforms are looking for content, so there are opportunities. Now, if you watched opening night at Gamescom, Tim Miller, the creator of Love, Death, Robots, an awesome series, announced his new project, Secret Level, which is a series that will be aired on Prime that tells stories of different gaming franchises every single episode. When I say stories of every single game, I don't mean how these games were made or anything. No, actually stories set within the lore of all these games. And that, my friends, sounds amazing. League of Legends Arcane already proved that it is possible, that there's a market, that there is interest. And the fun thing about series is that it also allows the creators to combine different storylines. They can run around in that world and bring things together, split them off. There's opportunities that way to tell a broader story because you have a lot of episodes to work with. The series would be perfect. Now, a few years ago, there was this rumor. It was actually based on a comment that someone at Blizzard posted on LinkedIn. That suggested that they had a deal with Netflix to make an Overwatch series, or that they were about to close that. But that was years ago, and we haven't heard anything about that officially. And to be fair, a lot has changed since then. For one, Overwatch has had a few issues, and yeah, Blizzard is now a Microsoft company. So who knows if that is still going to happen or not. Maybe somewhere in the future. If so, could you guys maybe announce it sometime soon, please? Thank you. But the best opportunity they currently have to tell their story is the actual game. And again, I'm not talking PvE. As you might know, I played the Marvel Rivals beta when it was up a few weeks ago. And one of the things I really liked about that game is how they incorporate storytelling lore within their PvP matches. Every map has a story tied into it. You're not just fighting an enemy team on some location. You have a goal within the Marvel lore that you need to achieve. And they tell that story with animations, with shots in the loading screen. There's a lot of voice lines at the start of the match, and there's actual NPCs that move around and take control of a payload, for instance. And to be fair, Overwatch also has those stories tied into some of the maps, not all of them, but they feel very random, and they don't put a lot of effort in telling those stories. I've talked about this before, but a lot of people do not seem to know that on King's Row, what you're actually doing is pushing an EMP right into the heart of the Omnic part of London, and you're setting it off. So you're basically killing all the Omnics that live in London. You cruel bastards. And sure, you see it setting off right at the end, but they could do so much more with this type of story. There's so much time where you're selecting a hero and nothing is really happening in the background. You just see your teammates punching things around, or you're waiting. Perfect opportunity to tell a story. And you know what? With all the tech that they've been kind of developing to randomize the maps when it comes to weather, how about you randomize the stories? They could push it to a new limit, further than Marvel Rivals or anybody else does. Because it's Blizzard. That's what they do. For instance, instead of always pushing that same truck on Dorado, what for now, for a few weeks, that Yunus pod is on top of that truck and we're helping her to get it to safety? What if instead of that parade float on Rio, we push a bus of Omnics that are hiding from Null Sector? They could go really crazy on this with, well, reasonable effort. They could tell stories within the PvP gameplay. I think a lot of us would like that. Do it, Blizzard. But for now, that was it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It always helps me out. I also want to thank my patrons. I could not make these videos without you guys. You have my eternal gratitude. If you have a few minutes left, maybe check out this video. Click it. But above all, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.